Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic slash non-classic. This is episode number 518 and Doubleshot number 426. Two Spider-Man trades, and like I said in my last episode, I'm going to start reviewing the Clone Saga. Yep. And I just want to be sure of this particular point. Here we go. Okay. This marks the 24th anniversary of the start of the Clone Saga. It ended in 1996, December 1996, which is pretty much 21 years ago, which is not too bad. Yep. These two trades are the first two things that starts off the event itself. We have, like I picked these books up here, these are really thick books. SpiderMan, The Complete Clone Saga, Book 1, and Book 2. Awesome cover with the jackal on it. This book contains Amazing Spider-Man 394, Peter Parker to Spectacular Spider-Man 217, Spider-Man number 5153, Spider-Man Unlimited number 7, though it's a Ben Reilly story, Web of Spider-Man 117 to 119, and Spider-Man The Lost Years 1 through 3. The writing in here is done by several writers, some of whom are very well known. Tom DeFalco, Jan DeMatteis, Todd DeZario, Diego, Terry Kavanagh, Mike Lackey, Tom Lyle, and Howard Mackey. With artwork by the ever-awesome Mark Bagley, Sal Buscema, Stephen Butler, Phil Gushler, Ron Lim, Tim Lyle, who was also the writer, John Romita Jr., Alex Savak, and Liam Sharp. Yeah, the prelude stuff is simply put from Ben Reilly's perspective, from the moment he first showed up in the original Clone Saga up until he showed up in the present day stuff, which, by the way, that actually ends with the start of the storyline with Power Responsibility, which Linkara himself has covered at a few years ago, I think it was. I'm not sure exactly when. You have to look it up on his episode count. But for Sal Buscema, it's simply put what book he does. He does Spectacular Spider-Man. He did it for a long ass time. Yeah. Tom DeFalco, people know him simply for creation of Spider-Girl, which I've heard that this year is the 20th anniversary of Spider-Girl. This is, of course, the Mayday Parker version, not the 616 version. Now, who does the other books? Well, the Ben Reilly stuff, starting with Spider-Man 117, that is done by Jan DeMatteis, with artwork by Liam Sharp. Yep. That's just the first part. The second part, which by the way is part of Power Responsibility, yeah, let's see, also done by Jan DeMatteis and Liam Sharp. I think all four, yeah, I think that the first three parts are all done by him. Surprisingly enough, the backup story is not done by Sal Buscema. Yeah. And then you have this sort of backup story-ish that continues right where that one left off. Where still Jan DeMatteis is still the writing of it, but it's taken over by John Romita Jr. with his father, John Romita Sr., doing the inks. Yep. And he does it pretty much up until and this little feature, the Parker Legacy, leads into the Lost Years miniseries, which is done by, let's see if I can find the correct creative team here. Yeah, it's done by Jan DeMatteis, John Romita Jr., and Claus Johnson doing the inking. Yep. And that's where that leads into this 3-issue miniseries. Really good miniseries. It's just basically of how it explains how Ben Reilly and Kane first met. Yep. That's simply what it is. And, yep. Let's see. Yeah, for some reason these miniseries only like 3 issues for this period of time for some strange reason. I have no idea why. Let's see here. Let's see. Do I think, yeah, as far as I can tell, Jan DeMatteis has all 3 issues. Though you have the heart attack thing from end of one particular issue, the Shrieking, which one of the things that the Shrieking is a storyline that features the return of the Vulture when he becomes very young. Those who are familiar with the 90s cartoon, the look he had in that show, yeah, that's actually from his current look here. Yep. Yeah, and that kind of leads into this famous scene that leads directly into Power Responsibility, which covers the other half of those 3 issues. Now, while the Power Responsibility story is now by Terry Kavanaugh, and I think he does the artwork the artwork is done by Stephen Butler. Yep. And Power Responsibility is a 4-parter. Yeah, let's see here. For the most part, this covers like the first good couple months of the Clone Saga, though. This was the start of the book, the Spider-Man books becoming sort of serialized, thanks to the Clone Saga. Though they kind of continue this concept even after the Clone Saga wrapped up. For the most part, with the exception of Sal Buscema's artwork, all the artwork in here is really, really good in this book. The story, as it starts out, was really good, despite the fact it dragged on for like 2 years. Yeah. But since it's just the start of the storyline that's very controversial, I'm going to give this book a 9 out of 10. For the most part, people who have read the Clone Saga agreed that the storyline that started off with the story that started off were really good. Of course, that also introduced the character Judas Traveler. A character, according to Lankara, is better suited to be a Silver Surfer villain, not a Spider-Man villain. Alright, next is Book 2, which contains Amazing Spider-Man 395, 399, Spectacular Spider-Man 218, 221, Spider-Man 54, 56, Spider-Man Limited number 8, Web of Spider-Man number 120, 122, and Spider-Man Fuel for Octopus 1 through 3. Writing by Tom Burrott, Tom DeFalco, Todd DeGio, Jane DeMatteis, obviously, Terry Kavanaugh, Tom Lyle, Howard Mankey, and Mike Kennever, with artwork by Mark Bagley, Sal Buscema. Pretty much, it's all the same people who worked on the previous book. Yep. Also, they had in that particular one, I think this is the one that has like the first storylines that feature Ben Reilly. I think so. Yeah, I believe it does. Yeah, I think starting with the last book, continuing here, it has the first official story. I think, yeah, this is the one here that has the first official, actually it was last book, features the first official storylines with Ben Reilly as the Scarlet Spider. And for the most part, this series is really good, though. The way this book ends, now the storyline that this book starts off with this, which was cover, Linkard never covered this one. It's Over the Edge. It's Back from the Edge. It's just Spider-Man versus Puma. That's the first storyline here. It takes up 4 issues. Of course, Sal Buscema was one of the artwork. No offense to Sal Buscema, but yeah, this guy got really lazy after the 70s. Because if you read his Captain America book from the 70s, it's really good artwork. And I'm like, what the heck happened to him? No idea. Oh, look. It's Daredevil in his 90s armor costume. Yeah. The thing with Daredevil in the 90s, it's kind of like Marvel had no idea what to do with him. It seems like right after the book hit 300, it seems like every couple years they kept changing what they want to do with him. Okay, they gave back his law license, and then after 2 years, he fakes his death, puts on this piece of crap. Yeah, nobody likes his costume. I like the color scheme, but I think the armor thing goes a little overboard. Yeah, he wears this for close to 2 years, stops wearing it, goes back to his red costume, and then after 350, he basically goes back being a lawyer. This lasts roughly for 2 years, and then he's going to become a French agent where he works for S.H.I.E.L.D., loses his memory, and operates in France the last few issues of that run before it got relaunched by Kevin Smith in 1998. Yeah. Oh, in case you're wondering, this is what the Vulture looks like in the 1990s. It's actually a pretty dang good costume. Heck, he went young in here, and those of you wondering who the guy on the left is, that's the Owl. Yep. Old Daredevil villain. Yeah, he was the first costume villain. Well, first original villain Daredevil fought, because the first costume villain he ever fought was Electro. I'm not kidding. Look it up. Daredevil number 2. He fought Electro in his second appearance. Yep. And after the Back from the Edge crossover, then it's the Web of Life, and then the Web of Death. It's basically 4 parts. And in this particular storyline, that's when you introduce this guy. Well, Kane is in the middle. Ben Reilly is on the left. Who is this guy in the far right? That is Vladimir Kravinoff. Excuse me, the Grim Hunter, who only appears in this story. He appears throughout a couple times. I mean, he appears in this story, Web of Life and Web of Death, which is the follow-up to this one, which that's quite obvious. Which I think that's when Kane kills Grim Hunter. Yeah, this is just a new character pops up, and then like not long afterwards he kills him. And look, we have Dr. Octopus in his white suit, which, by the way, in Superior Spider-Man, he actually did wear the suit again. And if you wonder who the blonde woman is, that is Stunner. Dan Slott brought her back for Superior Spider-Man, because after the storyline wrapped up, no one saw Stunner for like 20 years, and all of a sudden, poof, she pops up in Superior Spider-Man. I will eventually cover Superior Spider-Man the trades for it. The library does have, so it should be no problem. Let's see. And then after the Web of Death storyline, and you would not believe this. This actually happens in the last issue. Kane kills Dr. Octopus. Yeah, shocker. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, isn't Dr. Octopus still alive? Yeah, this doesn't last too long. Yeah, this lasts for a good maybe 2 years, and then he gets resurrected by the Hand. I'm not kidding. That's what happens to him after the story. It's like, okay, so let's just undo some mistakes we did during the storyline. So, okay, they brought him back because he's a popular villain, but I get maybe not bringing back the Grim Hunter right away, because I don't think he had a fan base back then. All of a sudden, and then here's something really weird. At the start of Grim Hunt, that was starting to happen about 8 years ago, mind you. They brought back Grim Hunter as his lion-oid creature for a few issues, and at the end of the storyline, this is, of course, the following issue after Kraven himself came back, Kraven kills his firstborn. He kills one of his sons, and of course, Alla Kravinoff, his illegitimate son, gets killed by Anna Kravinoff in the Savage Land of all things. Of course, this death leads into Funeral for an Octopus. Yep. Which has a sort of like a variation of the Sinister Six in a way, where the team has consisted of, oh yeah, and I also forgot though, this guy here, he does show up in Superior Spider-Man. This guy's name is Elias Hargrove. Yeah, he actually does pop up in Superior Spider-Man, where he gets killed by the Green Goblin. Yeah, he's actually one of Osborn. He's actually one of Ilo Octavius' very few relatives. Now, this Sinister Six variant, well, these group of villains, it is the Hobgoblin, the Vulture, the Mysterio, and Electro. Of these 4 villains, 2 of these guys are actually dead. One is currently one that hasn't seen. One actually did pop up recently in Spectacular Spider-Man. The other one, not sure where he is. Now, Hobgoblin at this point was a guy by the name of Jason McIndale. Yeah, those of you who ever watched the 90s cartoon, yeah, he was a Hobgoblin in that series. Originally, and this is of course according to Roger Stern in the Hobgoblin Liz miniseries, the original Hobgoblin was Roger Kingsley. Kingsley himself is still very much alive. And he is currently Hobgoblin. He did pop up recently in Spider-Woman. And he also he's also part of the new Sinister Six headed by the Iron Spider, who is Miles Morales' uncle, Aaron, I think his name is, Aaron Davis. Yes, Aaron Davis. Electro died very recently, and those of you wondering about his costume, yeah, that's the classic Steve Ditko costume he wore for pretty much most of his crime, his career as a criminal. with the exception of a few years, with the exception of the start of the relaunch of Amazing Spider-Man, and with the relaunch of Spider-Man in the late '90s, where he decided to go with his Chapter 1 costume for a few years, and then he went back to this thing, which he kept wearing the costume up until he died. He got killed by his resurrected girlfriend, who he accidentally killed at the start of, well, not the most recent one, Amazing Spider-Man, the one that started about 2015, the one he accidentally killed the first issue of the previous volume. Yep. Oh yeah, and these 4 do form the Sinister Six. Now, it's also revealed in the storyline that this particular Mysterio is not Quilton Beck, it's a robot. Yeah, Mysterio has this weird thing of he's kind of like the Jackal, where you think it's him, but nope, it's a stand-in. Yeah, that's the weird thing about him. Now, this storyline is done by Tom Brevoort and Mike Kurbach, with Stuart Johnson on the artwork, and the late Al Milgram doing the finishes. Yeah, this is one awesome storyline. And of course, once the storyline wraps up, it leads into, if I can find it here. Well, after the storyline wraps up, then it's Spider-Man Limited number 8, which is a standalone story. Yep. And then, like, right after that, we have the storyline that pretty much started off atop the fourth wall, Smoke and Mirrors. Yep. This very storyline, though the third part of it was adapted into the third part of the storyline was made into the first episode of Atop the Fourth Wall, which I think he might be doing a remake of those first two parts. Excuse me. Okay. For the most part, most of the stuff in here is really good. Up until you get the Smoke and Mirrors, because, yeah, up until you get the Smoke and Mirrors, everything here is really good. Smoke and Mirrors is an okay story, though those of you who are reading the storyline at this point, Smoke and Mirrors is kind of the first step of the downfall of the storyline that caused it to be dragged out for 2 years. But despite that, most of this is really good. I'm going to give this book a 9 out of 10. Despite the fact the last storyline here starts the start of the downfall, the crappiness of the Clone Saga. That spreads out for a while. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for episode 519 and Doubleshot number 427, where I'm going to cover books 3 and 4 of the complete Clone Saga epic. And of course, I will cover also the Ben Reilly books as well, which is just a follow-up to that. Yeah, there are 11 books overall that collect the 90s one. But do you know how many books overall there are for Clone Saga? Aside from there's like close to 13 books, because aside from the 11 that collects Clone Saga in the 90s, you also have the original Clone Saga and the real Clone Saga, and also Clone Conspiracy. So that's about 14 trades overall. I don't know when I'm going to get my hands on the Clone Conspiracy trade. I have no idea. I'm hoping the library gets their hands on it. Now, the only thing related to Clone Conspiracy I have reviewed is just the issues of Amazing Spider-Man, which just expands upon stuff that happened in Clone Conspiracy. Alright, so until I see you in the next episode, bye.